All right, this is the next part for the Cyberpunk Street, and this is what I've got so far. So it's certainly not done. There's a lot of stuff that's not textured here, and there are textures that are not refined yet, with maybe potentially some damage, some rust, some labels if I decide to put those on. But this is where we're going so far. This is a screenshot image that's been post-processed a bit to give me an idea of how the lighting is beginning to look. The lighting is also not done, and how the textures are starting to work. All right, so you can see that I've got some signs in here. Basically what I showed you, I've got the arrow in here. Maybe I didn't show you how I made that, but I just modeled it and I put an emission on there and that kind of thing. So I've gone ahead and I put some tentative textures on there, and I'm liking it so far. And the garbage cans aren't done, and the door's not done, and these lights aren't done, and the cables aren't done, and there's more cables to do, and this stuff's not done, and these aren't done, and that kind of stuff. But I wanted to talk just about a couple of things in this video. I'm going to talk about the ground and the puddles, and I'm going to talk about the tiles and just the general concrete on here. All right, so I'm going to come over to Substance Painter, and the way I decided I would do this was all in one piece for both the ground or floor and the actual architecture itself. Instead of doing this with like a trim texture or doing it as planes and then clicking the planes together, I actually took all of the architecture, the main building stuff, and I'll show you that second. First of all, just the ground. And I'm not settled exactly on this, but this is what it's starting to look like, and I may just leave it like that, and it'll depend on the lighting. So there's the ground, right? So you're here, and you got the main building with the garage kind of door. You got the other one with the garage door, and it goes off sort of into the distance. All right, so that's it. And so what I would do over here is very simply, I search for concrete, and I either, actually they may have been in here, I either had these concretes, take it back, this concrete symbol I think comes with Substance Painter, and if you have a newer version you may have better and more concretes. So what I did is I just decided I would use that, and I would drop that down there, and I came over here. I switched this to triplanar, and that helped with those seams. I'm at 1024 so far, so I can up it later on if I want to. Come down in here and change the color. I think I had it a little bit darker. I had less cracks. I had a bit more dirt, and a few spots on there, and that was good for that first part. And then I also took another concrete that I have, this one here, which has got some grunge on it, so you can mix them, and you can see that the normal comes through. But to me that was a little bit much, so I came in here. First of all, I had this, and I switched that to OpenGL, and I just reduced the normal intensity and some of these parameters here to reduce that. You know, I didn't want it too bumpy. All right, so short of playing around with it for a little while, I just decided, okay, I'm going to stick with something like that. So I'm going to have my concrete road there, and you know, I could come over here back to this one and adjust the scale. Let's try 2. I think I did that actually, and felt it suited my ground a little bit better. I said, okay, so now I want to have some like puddles on it, like it's been raining. Let's make this as a fill layer, and let's just choose roughness for now. I might go back and do some height, add a black mask, and add a paint. And in the roughness channel over here, let's go back to roughness. And drop that down, make it relatively shiny for a puddle so I get some reflections, and go back to the paint layer. And then you choose your brush. Now I'm going to come over here and I'll try the hard brush, and if I just draw on here, you can start to see a puddle. And you know, because it's relatively transparent, translucent, transparent, you want that underlying geometry from, or you know, texture really from the lower levels so that it's kind of bumpy inside. Okay, I can still come back here and I can play with the roughness. I'll try a different lighting. Okay, so that's with just the basic hard brush. I can change this to like a dirt brush, and you can get a sense of what that's going to look like. Let's come back here. Okay, if you don't want those edges to be as sharp, but I find like with puddles and stuff, often depending on what surface they're on, if they're on a relatively flat surface, you know, due to the surface tension of the water or whatever, you know, chemical interactions, they often, you'll get, you know, a more coherent pattern in the water, as opposed to like really broken up. I guess if you were on grass or muddy ground, it might be different. But anyhow, that's basically what I would do for that. So I'll just come back to here and just, you know, you can just draw some, change the size, and, you know, and that's it, you know, and then bring it in and test it and see how it looks. Again, you know, I wouldn't want it too circular, and you still could, you know, break that up a little bit, but that's basically it. And then if you wanted, you could come back and turn on the height and just give it a little boost. I'll try 0.1. That might be too much, but you could see, you know, it kind of boosts it up. You can see at the edge you get a little bit of a border, and that might look good as well. All right, so rather than putting in, like, say, a clouds texture or something, I found it was a little bit much, so I just basically painted in what I wanted, and I got some water. Whether or not I stick with that, I'm not sure. Okay, so that's how I did that. So let's move on and look at the geometry stuff there. So for this one, I'm going to have to bring in a new one. Now, the way I did this is I used the UV tile flow. I used UDIMs, and I think I used 9 or 10 UDIMs for all of the basic architecture in my scene. So I have the wall here and all the stuff up here. I had to go in. I got rid of all the back faces. I got rid of stuff I didn't need. I joined certain things. I had created the arch just a little bit previously, and the stairs. So I really cleaned it up, and it was very, very boxy. All right. And I also had the pillars. I had done those, and I had, that was it. The pillars, the arch, and the main walls for all of this. So I did that, and then I unwrapped it. Some of that I did manually, and some of it I used Smart UV Project for. And I decided that I would bring it in all as one big model, so I could sort of be consistent in putting textures on, and I could be free to go back and add damage on the whole thing if I wanted to, as opposed to having like an individual plane that I would click together. I found it was going to be difficult to get some of the shapes that I wanted here. I could have done that, and I'll probably do that actually in the future, but this worked out okay. There are still certain things that I might want to look at again, but I might just leave it and move on. So like I say, I used UDIMs, and I've done lots of videos on those, so I won't really go into that now. I'm just going to bring it in, but it's going to take some time. I'll leave it at 1024 OpenGL, use UV tile workflow, and I believe this is it here. So let's see if I can bring that in, and you'll see what it is. There we go. This is what I had. And if you can see through it, it means there's no back faces. All right. So I said I want to work on all of the geometry at once. So now, because I've got the UDIMs, it's going to, and I've got two. I separated out into two materials. Concrete one were the main walls, the main building parts, and concrete two were the pillars, the arch, and the stairs. So I wanted a slight difference in the materials for those. Now, in order to put the textures on, I need to bake the mesh maps, and because I've got, well, you can see I've got 9 UDIMs here, or UV tiles. It's going to take a while to bake, so I'm going to go ahead and bake, and then we'll come back. So the first thing that I would do is I'm going to work on concrete 1, so I'm on that layer. I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to come over to my materials, and once again I search for concrete, and I think in this case I used a relatively, not that one, I used, I think, this concrete again, but I played around with this with triplanar and with my scale. I'll do that. Now I'm at 1024. Based on how I did my UDIMs, I don't have too bad texture resolution. It's not as good as I would have liked, but you know, I just didn't want it repeating too much, because yeah, in games they could do that a lot, but you know, they're going to go in with another pass and do vegetation and debris and damage and color variations or whatever, and because I'm not doing that, I just wanted to be able to use the texture over the whole thing, kind of thing, and have it tile over it and not look too repetitive. Although again, my scene is relatively dark, so I came in here and I played around with the settings for a while, changing things till I got what I liked, and you know, I'm not going to do too much of that here. And again, a lot of it's going to depend on the lighting. You know, if I just switch to a different lighting, it looks brown. You know, that kind of thing. So I'll just leave it on that for now, because it looks like it's in a sunrise or sunset. Okay, so we got that. What else do I need to do on this layer for now? Well, there's the typical stuff of adding dirt and adding edgeware if you want, and I'm considering some more damage to it. I may have mixed a couple of other layers in there, some other noises or whatever, but that basically got me this, which you can't see very well anyhow. All right, at least in this scene. And this is not going to be for like a game where you go from the daylight and you can mess around in this area and at night. It's just a static render, so that was fine for what I needed to do, for what you were going to be able to see. And even if I brought the exposure up a little bit, or it was a bit more lighting in here, you're still going to get just a basic concrete wall. The more interesting thing was, you know, the tiles, and I knew that I didn't want to have this all like that. I mean, it looks okay, it looks like a 3D model, but I was going to have to do something to break up the monotony of this. And really, because my shot is down here and it is dark, I mean, the main thing you may see this far wall a little bit, but it's blocked by signs and pipes and stuff, and it's dark, so you're not going to see that much. You see this lower stuff a little bit more. Of course, one of the garage kind of doors goes here. I don't know why there's not a hole there, and one goes there. And so, yeah, so the next thing I wanted to do is to do the tiles. And you know, you can certainly use tiles. I've got some tiles here, and in Smart Materials I've got that, but I said, you know, I was going to try to make my own, and you know, whatever, feel better about that. So let's do that. I'm just going to create a folder, and let's do a fill layer. I'll pull that in there, and we can let's put the black mask on there, and then let's come over here, and now you can see my edges, or where there's some seams on this. I had to put a few strategic seams on this so that I could select. So if I'm on, we could try this and see how well it selects. Actually, let's hide that stuff for now. Yeah, okay. I may not have done this one. Yeah, I did. Okay. Yeah, I had to put a seam under here so that I could select just this stuff and just make sure I got wherever I would want those seams down there. Yeah, okay. So I've got that stuff selected. Now, let's go ahead, and we have a fill. We got a fill in there. And so I'm going to do the tile. So let's see here. Let's add a black mask. and then a fill. And in that fill, in the grayscale, let's reset that, search for tile generator, and you start to see what we're getting here. All right, the tiles are going just where we want them. Let's see. Let's try planar. I'm going to do that for now. Now, actually, what I'm going to do here, that's starting to look okay, and we can see the background could be the grout, and the whitish stuff can be the tile. Now, the texture is coming through from below, but I kind of like that. There are ways to block that, and we might do that in a minute. We'll see. All right, let's come down here, though, and instead of using brick, let's use our own alpha. So let's type in square and see what I did, this square rectangle. Let's drag that into the custom pattern and change this to image input. And now I have that. And I think that's probably what I would want to do. So you can adjust this, and you can come to the scale, and you can play with this and get them how you want. All right, I'm going to come back to the fill, and I can increase the roughness a little bit, and I'm starting to get my tiles. And that's really all there is to it. You just then decide what you want to do. So in my case, I think I made them a little bit yellowish. For whatever reason. So let's say you liked something like that, if that was the case. And let's look at getting them without that pattern. Again, I'm at 1024, right? Let's bring it up to 2048 and see, if they seem a little crisper. All right. It's a large area to cover, without doing, doing it in pieces. But I just figured I wanted to do that if I wanted to put a texture on top of it, like dirt and maybe leaks or whatever. But it turns out that I don't know how much I needed that. Let's see what we want to do here. On the black mask here, if I switch this to height and I change this to normal, I can remove the height information from the layer below if I want my tiles to have their own sort of height information and texture. So that's one thing I could do. I think I'm going to change this back to a more color like that, just for now. Another thing that I would do here, so there's my tile generator, creating my tiles. I'm going to come above here and add another fill with a black mask and a fill in here. And in the grayscale, I'm going to search for fractal. And I'm going to try this fractal sum base. Let's see. This one here. I'm going to switch over to test 1024. Let's be a little quicker. All right, so I'm starting to get some noise in there. And what I'll do is I will bring this to, let's just drop that for a second so we can start to see it there, and I'll have to come back up. All right, so this is one that I like to use, and just adjust the noise parameters, and you can get some very interesting effects with these as I scroll through them. I think I'll jump you back to 1024 or to 2K, because often then stuff will pop through that you didn't even realize was there. All right, so I could get some noise on there. Okay, there we go. All right, so I can put my own sort of noise on the tiles themselves. So that's what I have there. All right, you can adjust how much. I wouldn't have that much necessarily. The only thing is the tiles are looking very square, very regular, and it looks okay. It just looks like a 3D model. And what can you do? This is where Substance Designer comes in. And I've been trying to treat Substance Painter like Substance Designer because they are related, of course, and there's some functionality in Painter that is similar, not as much as I wish. But I'm going to come back, first of all, to my tiles and think about my scale here. If I go back to 1, and I've got that, can I do something down here? So you can darken the grout. You can do what do whatever you want to do. But anyways, I'm not going to leave it like that. I'm going to come back to my tile generator, and I'm going to, let's see, where is my other? And while you're at it, you don't have to stick with this particular one. You can try different shapes for your tile generator. You can use the built-in square here, and all of a sudden everything's disappeared. You just need to drop your scale down below 1. Like, let's try 0.99. So they're quite tight. Let's try 0.98. So that's also a very nice look. And you could say, okay, what happens if I add a bevel to those? Let's add a filter. Bevel. It may go nuts. It might be far too much. And I'm going to switch back to 1024 just to speed things up. And let's go back here and see what I've done. Yeah, so just very small amounts, but you can get the result that you want. I'm going to not use that, so get rid of that for the moment. But let's see if we can break up the edges a little bit. So instead, we're going to use a filter, and this is somewhat like Substance Designer. We're going to use a blur slope. And I am going to go back to 1024, and I'm going to switch the intensity divider. We'll try 100. You can see that the intensity here is sort of reduced essentially, and if I jump up to 1,000, it's much less, and you can play with this. So generally, what I would do is I'm going to switch this to min. And let's try 100 without too much. Sometimes I like to lower the quality. Sometimes I want it higher up. All right, starting to get some damage on those. This tile pattern using the square here may not be as nice as using that, because then I get the background a little bit more. But so now I'll just adjust the scale. A little bit, but I can sort of get some of my grout in through there. So just play with that blur slope and don't go too crazy with it, and try the higher divider, and then see if you can get a result that you like to give a little bit of disorder. And then I came to over here to the masking, and just did a random mask to get rid of a few tiles. And that's really when I wanted to look at what's underneath here. All right, so that grout will make a difference there. You can put multiple layers underneath to show rocks and stuff like that, and you know, dirt or moss or whatever you want. So I just have that there, and then I'll jump it back to 2K to sharpen it up a little bit. All right, so you could play around with what all the parameters of this, how smooth you want them or how bumpy or rough, what color or what you want underneath there, etc. But that's basically how I did my tiles, with slightly different color and slightly wider. All right, so now I'm just going to talk a little bit about the arch, which you actually can't see. I just wanted to say a few words about that. So I'm over here now, and you can see there's my arch. That's the geometry of it, and I've got those. And so for here, I'm going to take material. I'll take some concrete again, and I'll just throw on anything. What's this? See what this one looks like. All right, we'll just throw that on for now. And I've got that, and then you can adjust the parameters of that. And that's okay. Of course, you can add dirt and stuff and edges to so it looks a little bit better. And but what I want to do is I want to come over to the UVs for this as well. And there it is. All right, so you can see I've got, I guess, 3 UVs for concrete 2. So once again, concrete 2 is just the pillars, the little floor thing, and the arch. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to put a pattern on the arch. Okay, and so I'm just going to switch to orthographic and have to frame it. And no, I'm not, because I can't see the arch. Never mind. Let's go back to perspective. All right, I want to put a little design on the arch, and so I have to, I'm going to add a paint layer. You could do this with a fill. I'll just do it quickly with a paint layer, and I'm going to stay with color and height, and I'll just drop the height for now. Just switch to something crazy, and the brush just to get this going and say, where is my arch? I'm going to draw on the, okay, so it's over here. All right, so I know where my arch is. Oh yeah, that makes sense. I can see the central part there, so I'm just going to get rid of that. All right, so I want something on there. So I'm going to get rid of the color and have just height, and we'll give it a try, and then we'll see. So come to my alphas and just search around, and I think I used something pretty standard quickly. I'll try this thing here, this Celtic thing. Okay, all right, so let's not do it too much, and we'll do a test here. So I'll have that there, and I'm going to press the tab button to kind of zoom in, and just come up here, change the size, hold down shift and control, and it's going to be weird because they're all joined together, but I do see something there. Okay. So I'm going to change the spacing so that I can start to sort of see them a little bit more independently. So do that, and I can just do it here and see what it's starting to look like. Yeah, I'm starting to see something. So, okay. So let's come up here, and this is why I wanted my UVs to be straight, so I could get this pattern on here. All right, they had to be straight, otherwise I would not be able to draw them. And by having your UV straight, you know, you can put stuff on curved surfaces. All right, so just get the size that you like and the spacing that you like, and hold down shift and control and try a number of times until you get what you want. And that's looking good to me. I'm going to go back to 3D only. We've got some overlap here, so I can take the eraser, not that, the eraser, and actually I'm going to take a brush, hard, make it smaller, and I need to make sure that I've got height on here because I want to erase height. There we go. And if there's any on the other side, which there isn't. All right, back to the brush. So I've got a little design on there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, this is my design. Okay, so you can label it any way you like. I often will call it alpha. And then I'll do a lot of the same work on, on that one layer. So for example, if I did want to do something else on here, just real quick, square. If I say I took that square, but came back and where's my spacing? I don't really need any spacing, whatever. And I say, okay, I'm going to click. I could do that. Now these ones happen to be mirrored. I won't do any more, but let's say I do that. All right. Okay. So now there's my alpha stuff. I'm going to come over here, add a fill. I'm going to do some quick dirt, color and roughness up, color. I'll just use sort of block, even though that might not be the best choice. And I'm just going to use a generator and get some dirt on there. Let's say I like that. All right. But it's not really in here. It doesn't look quite right. And you can convert this to have this in the actual normal, and then it looks really good. But the quick kind of way to do this is to come back to your alpha and put an anchor point on it, and it'll take the name of your layer, so it's alpha. And then come to your dirt generator, scroll down a bit to micro details, turn micro height on to true. Micro height down here, select your anchor point, and then nothing has happened yet, but it will. Now under here, the reference channel, choose height, and the dirt will go into your alpha, and that looks a little bit better. And then you can play with the levels if you want. If you don't want it as dark, you can adjust this until you get the level that you like. And that is basically how I did it, short of doing damage, and I might do a video on that sometime soon. Okay, you can of course paint your own dirt, you can paint your own rubble and alphas and all that stuff. And that's what leads me back to here. Alright, so I'm going to leave it at that for now. I'm going to go on and do a bit more work. I have to do a lot of texturing on various simple things. All right, and then I'll relook at the garbage cans and some trash, and I got to do this door, and yeah, there's more to talk to you about. All right, but I'd like to jump ahead a little bit and get some done, because otherwise we'll be here forever. All right, thanks very much for watching, and I hope you'll tune into the next part. See ya.